In part 1 of this video series, we got our straps glued to our main panel and we prepped our gusset piece for its lining. In this episode, we're going to get the lining onto our gusset and then pre-stitch and finish the top portions of the gusset. On top of that, we are going to stitch the interior side of our straps and finish off the edge. Because the two ends of this strap overlap, we need to make sure that we stitch this properly. We're going to start by stitching the straps to the main panel. There are quite a few start and stop points on these straps, so I've included all of those within the plans. If you notice the two holes that are to the right of where I started my stitch, I've updated the plans so that that last hole now lines up with the corner of the main panel. This will make it a bit easier to understand where to start and stop your stitching. Do that for both sides and then hammer down your stitching. To make things a bit easier in the edge finishing department, I decided to pre-finish this edge before stitching the rest of the strap. It's easy to blend in the two sections after the fact than attempting to edge finish this strap all at once. Once this dries, we'll come back, apply a second coat, and I'll show you that later in the video. This is a new edge paint that I'm using for the first time. It's called Uniters, and so far I've been very happy with how this edge paint applies, how it sands, and how it takes heat. I find this edge paint also builds up its layers really well, and it dries extremely quickly. I will go into detail in a future video exactly how I finish my edges when using edge paint. You'll also need to finish the very ends of these straps before we stitch them together. This is a reinforcement material called microfiber. It's my first time using it, and I got it for two specific reasons. One was for situations where I need to add just a bit of body to the leather, and two was for applications like this where I want to protect the hardware that's on the inside of the bag from being felt or seen on the interior lining. You can see how soft this material really is. It doesn't skive very well, and given the fact that it's only 0.5 millimeter thick, skiving it out is probably unnecessary for this application. This piece is going to live between the lining and the base support piece that holds the feet. Once that's in place, we can then go ahead and glue our gusset to our lining material. I start by sticking down the center of the gusset and then wrapping up the two sides of the lining while curving the main gusset panel. This will prevent any wrinkles from occurring on the lining leather when we go ahead and stitch this into its final shape. If you were to glue this lining flat, when you curved up the sides, all that extra leather on the lining is going to bunch up in the corners and it won't look very good. So after about 20 minutes, this first coat is completely dry. I can use the spatula tip on my creasing machine to smooth out that edge. After applying that bit of heat, I then use 600 grit sandpaper to really smooth it all out. If you look closely, you can see the variation in that surface. All the shiny lighter bits are the low spots. I need to sand down until that surface is a uniform color. Depending on how much edge preparation you did before adding your edge paint, you may or may not sand down through all of the first layer of edge paint. If you do, that's okay, because you need to build up a really nice flat surface before polishing off that last layer of edge paint. After that, I apply a second layer, and then it's the exact same process as I did before. Use some heat to smooth out that edge, sand it down, and then reapply another layer if necessary. In real time, it's been about an hour since I attached this gusset, so that glue is plenty set. I can go ahead and punch out those holes through the lining, and then I'm going to trim that lining to its final shape. Where the gusset curves around the corner, the stitch spacing does change slightly, and the plans do indicate where that stitch spacing changes from the rest. To stitch our straps together, we're going to overlap the ends by 9 holes. I've included all the appropriate reference marks on the plans, so this will be easier to see once you have those plans downloaded, but overlap the first 9 holes on each side, glue those pieces together, and then we'll go ahead and get into the stitching part. To make sure everything stays lined up correctly, I'm going to use the needles to help with alignment. And I'll use binder clips to keep everything nice and secure while that glue sets. We're going to start our stitch run right where we finished off, stitching on our straps to our main panel. To finish this off, you're going to back stitch to the second hole on the overlapping strap and then stitch across. This will secure the loose end of the top strap. To finish this off, you're going to feed the two ends of your thread through to the middle, tie off a double knot, and then snip that thread to length, and then the excess will just get held down once the other edge of that strap is stitched in place. For the top edge of our gusset, we're going to start at the second hole down from the corner, stitch around, and finish on the same hole on the other side. Once you're done, your stitching should look something like this. We can now go through the same edge finishing process on the top of our gusset and the inside edge of our straps. I'm going to wrap this episode up here. In the next one, we're going to install our zipper. We're going to attach our two panels to our gusset and finish off the remaining edges. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, head over to my website to get the plans for this project. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.